everyone, I'm Crystal Jagrat, founder of Book of Bijou and our Empowered by Women platform. I really created this platform just because I really fell in love with the women empowerment space. And I love bringing on women like our guest today, women in business, small business owners, people of that nature that are just creating lives that they love and deserve. And I love bringing them on to get a little bit more insight into their story and how they have grown their brands and their businesses. And hopefully it can be an inspiration to all of you listening. So whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast platform, I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. So today I'm super excited to welcome Sonia to our Empowered by Women interview series.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Sonia is in the tech industry. She works with a startup, but she's also been blogging for quite some time, and she's been building her social media platform to almost 100K followers. She's right there, right at the cusp, and I know she's going to get there in no time. But without further ado, Sonia, why don't you just go ahead and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started with blogging? Why did you go down that route, and everything else that you're currently doing at the moment?
For sure. So I have always been interested in like the entertainment space, whether that's fashion. I tried to be an actress growing up, modeling. I moved to LA for a while. And then finally, when I ended back here in the Bay Area, I realized I still had that desire to be in the industry. So I started my own blog, Sonia Begonia, and I focused a lot on fashion. Fast forward 5 years, today it's expanded to home, beauty, fashion, lifestyle. I talk a lot about mental health and this idea of Instagram versus reality. But that's where I am today. 5 years later, I've been working really hard on this. Like you mentioned, I do work 9 to 5 in tech, and then 5 to 9, I call myself a blogger. So techie by day, blogger by night.
Love it. I love it. So blogging, I mean, is it even still a pretty big industry? I feel like a lot of, technology and social media has moved towards all these quick videos and things like that. But have you still been seeing a lot of traction and growth with your blog?
I have, and that's because most people are in the mindset that blogging is like dinosaur time, like it's way back, when internet came out, people were making websites and blogging, and people think now they don't do that anymore. They've moved to Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, Pinterest, all that. And that is true. Most people are on those platforms, but there's like a hidden value to having your own blog. And so I was able to monetize my blog the last 2 years. I made 6 figures last year from affiliate marketing through my blog. And it's something that I tell people not to ignore. Don't think that it's old school. Don't just focus all your eggs on social media. There's a power with having your own kind of website and your own audience that way.
That's incredible. And I guess it's a good thing if people are no longer blogging, and that's kind of like shifting all the attention back to you, right? Because you're one of the few
Right.
remaining that are still going strong.
Yes.
I love it. So I did have a chance to go through some of your earlier blog posts, and one of them was kind of talking about your earlier days. And it really resonated with me because you were talking about how shy you were as a child. I am also the same way, or I was also the same way. I was a weird kid. I was really shy, and I just got like really weird in middle school. But now I wouldn't say a social butterfly, but I am definitely a little bit more extroverted
Mhm.
than before. But you were talking about how, the extremity of your shyness. And there was this kind of turning point in your life where you were invited to be in a classmate's fashion show, and that kind of turned things around for you. So kind of, can you walk us through that? Like what made you say yes, and how did that kind of pivot the path of your life?
No, totally. So growing up, ever since I can remember, I had super bad anxiety. That's why I talk about mental health so much. Back then, I don't think it was diagnosed as much as anxiety as it is today. So I kind of just thought this was who I was. And as a result, I was super shy in high school. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was always really physically sick because I was so anxious. Um, but I had this dream, like a lot of kids do, to make it big and be famous. And I just didn't think I could do it because I had so much anxiety and I had self-esteem issues and everything that teenagers really go through today. But someone asked me to be in a fashion show in San Francisco, and I did it. And I'm so happy I did it because that was the turning point where I realized I can do this. I can do something. I can achieve my dreams. None of them are too big. So that's kind of led me to focus to go to UCLA. That was my goal so that I could be in Beverly Hills and try to be famous and do all that. But it was a turning point because I think a lot of kids think that high school is life, like where you are in high school and what you're doing, that's going to carry on throughout your life. And I always tell people, especially young girls or teenagers, that that is so far from the truth. And that's kind of my story on how I conquered well, I didn't conquer it. I'm still dealing with anxiety. It's kind of a lifelong battle for me, but it's definitely how I got into accepting myself and knowing that really I can do anything.
That's so powerful. I was gonna go into, how you're still dealing with it, but after that point where you said yes for that fashion show, like, did you see yourself consistently just saying yes to all these opportunities, or was it still kind of like a process to feel more and more comfortable?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a process for sure. Well, you do it once, so you don't instantly, overcome all your fears. But I think it's so important for people to step outside their comfort zone, whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be a fashion show. It can be, going to a party where you don't know anybody. It can be just about anything, putting yourself online. I mean, I think that that's super powerful, especially for young people, just knowing that you can do anything and putting yourself in situations that are outside your comfort zone can only really make you grow as a person.
So how long have you been building your social media or Instagram presence?
About 5 years. Yeah, five
Oh, right around
years.
the same time you started blogging?
Exactly.
Okay. So you were
Yeah.
putting yourself on camera and all of that, like, was that fairly comfortable for you by that point?
I think it was, and Instagram's funny because unless you're doing Instagram Live, you can edit and reshoot and everything. And
Right?
so for the longest time, I was filming things over and over again to kind of make them perfect. And now I've realized that perfection is overrated and being imperfect and coming on to stories and talking and stuttering and laughing and crying or whatever you do is cool. So now it's so easy. And I think a lot of people benefit from just being themselves online.
Oh my gosh, I totally agree. And I'm the same way. Ideally, I would love to get all dolled up and look cute like 100% of the time, anytime I turn my camera on. But the reality of the situation is that I'm juggling my 9 to 5 and my business, and I just post content when I can. And 99.9% of the time, I'm just in my gym clothes, no makeup on, probably a little bit sweaty because it's right after the gym. And I'm like, you
Right.
know what? I have something to say, so I'm just going to say it. Who cares? But I love that that's kind of the direction that social media is going in now.
No, me too. I love that. I think before it was you were only admired if you portrayed having a perfect life online. And now it's like, I admire people who are just kind of a hot mess online. I love
Yeah,
that because it's like I'm also a hot mess in real life and I get to see that someone who I look up to is the same way. So that's all I'll
exactly.
say about that. But yeah.
Exactly. So that is a big part of the reason why I really wanted to bring you on and interview you, because I love how vulnerable and authentic and transparent you are on social media. And throughout your life, you already gave us a glimpse of, the anxiety that you deal with. But on top of that, like, you've survived cancer, you've tinnitus, you deal with panic disorders, you've dealt with family issues. But through it all, like, you continue to show up and with a smile on your face, and you continue to grow your presence and build your brand and be an inspiration to everyone along the way. So, like, how have you been navigating all of those obstacles in your life while trying to create this brand for yourself?
Yeah, so every time I would go through, so backstory is I was diagnosed with DFSP at 22, which is a really rare form of cancer. I didn't have to have chemo or anything. I just had a really long surgery, and it's something that I monitor now yearly. I can't donate blood, all that stuff. And then not long after that, I got tinnitus, which is like a 24/7 ringing. If you go to a concert and you come back from a concert, you hear that ringing in your head. Well, I have that 24 hours a day. I've had that for like years now. But the one saving grace when I go down a deep hole or something obstacle comes my way is my business and just focusing on that. That's a great distraction for me. And it actually, these hardships propel me to put even more effort into my business and stay focused. And I think that's really weird to say, but it's like when everything else is hitting the fan, I can always count on myself and my business. So in essence, I'm happy those things happened because I truly don't think that my blog and my business would be where it is today. And I think that if you go through something difficult, focus on that one goal or that one dream that you have. And no matter how dark it gets, that is your light that you can keep following.
I feel like you're like an outlier in that sense. Because typically, if people are dealing with hard times like that, I mean, all of those, especially like health problems, like they kind of want to take a step back and take a step away and kind of just shut everyone out and focus on themselves. But you're doing the opposite. Have you ever
Well,
had those moments where you kind
oh
of
yeah,
had to walk away?
yeah, I definitely did. I mean, I'm super open about mental health and medication. I took a lot of medication when I was going through these things just to get me over the hump. And now I'm like a Zoloft queen. I'm on 50 milligrams probably the rest of my life. And I love it. It helps me function. But I definitely was in those dark places. But like I said, you got to hold on to that one light. And if it takes you 2 weeks to get out of bed, that's okay. Just like remember there is a light and there is something positive to keep striving for. Because once you lose all hope or you get tunnel vision on whatever obstacle you're going through, that's kind of where you can get into trouble. So I think that's important to remember.
So real quick, is Zoloft sponsoring you?
No. They really should though, because I tell everybody I'm very pro medicine, pro therapy. Like, obviously you should obviously see a medical professional who's going to give you these tips and medications, but I'm very pro whatever helps you battle all of your battles in life.
I love that. I'll definitely tag them everywhere this gets posted.
I love it.
So in those moments where you did kind of need to take a break and take a step away, like
Mhm.
with social media being so you have to keep showing up like every day or be really consistent, like did you see that affect the growth or your trajectory of your brand at all?
Recently I was reading somewhere that Instagram is actually favoring quality over quantity of posts. So this pressure of posting every day and being present every day isn't as much of a big deal anymore. The algorithm's changing every day, but based on your engagement per posts and everything, if you're posting every day and it's not getting engagement versus posting a couple times a week and posting quality content that people are liking, that's going to help you grow your social media. So I think in that way, I only post like 2 to 3 times a week unless I have sponsored contracts or anything. But I think that quality over quantity is important. Don't worry about showing up every day. Like you have a life outside of social media. Even if this is your full-time business, you have to enjoy real life too. So I always remind people that don't worry about posting every day or showing up every day, because the people that follow you want quality and they want you. They don't just want you showing up to show up, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
that's kind of my advice.
So in terms of the content that you do post, I mean, you are a fashion blogger, but you throw in all of your kind of personal things along with that. Like, do you have a pretty good mix of like your audience, like who's following you for what reason? Or is it kind of just like your fashion audience that are just supporting you along the way? What do you think?
I think I have a good majority fashion, but I have a lot of people that follow me for my mental health. A lot of people that follow me for, sometimes I have home decor. I'm a huge advocate, obviously, for everything mental health. I've said that 10 times because that is something I'm so passionate about. But home decor, beauty, I talk a lot about designer inspired finds. So things that you can find at Walmart and Target that make you look like $1,000,000 when you're spending 20. So I have
Right.
a mixed audience. Yeah. And I'm half Indian, half my mom's from Texas. So I think I have a mix of all these different people, which I love. I love that.
I love that as well. So have you always been, pretty transparent while growing your Instagram?
No, that is a hard no. I think up until probably 2 years ago, I was like very like everything's got to be perfect. People can't know my problems. Like only my close family and friends can know anything that's really personal to me in my life. And once I saw more and more people sharing their life and the response that they got, I realized that that's okay and like people admire that. So now I just share whatever comes into my head. I share, which I
Love
think
that.
people, I haven't gotten a lot of negative. I don't think I've gotten a single hate message on something that I shared that was personal. So I think my audience is pretty receptive to that.
That's awesome. So seeing other people sharing their stories was kind of the turning point for you.
Totally. Hmm.
I know a lot of times there are some people that kind of have like this build up and they're like dying to tell people and they're finally just like, F it, you know what? I'm just gonna tell everyone. And
Hmm.
it's like game changing because you no longer have to like meet all these check boxes before you show up. You're kind of just like, I'm just gonna show up and be me.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. And I think there would be so many less problems in the world if people weren't so focused on this perfection online. I mean, mental health issues amongst teenagers and young adults and, bullying and everything. I think that being real online could help a lot of that.
Moving towards like the content that you post, you were talking about like, nowadays, like the Instagram algorithm is focusing on quality content versus quantity. So, what is considered quality for you? How do you decide what you post and what you don't post?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's a mix of things because what is quality? It's whatever your audience wants. So it's kind of subjective, but Instagram wants people that are following you to engage with your posts. So I post whatever I think my audience wants because you've got to think of it from like Instagram's a machine, it's an algorithm. So I post a lot of designer inspired because that's a lot of what my audience wants. I post a lot of sales. That does really well for me. And then I'll throw in some real life photos of my husband or what we're doing for the day. But I'm not going to post a low quality content photo or a photo that really has no purpose just to post, even if that means I don't post for a week. So there's the saying, I think it's three things that you should always post online. It should be for education, a call to action, or entertainment. And there might be one more. So if your post isn't falling into one of those buckets, then think about if it's actually valuable to your audience.
That's such a great tip. And I think so many people do really fall for that. I need to post every day, like regardless of what I'm posting, even if it's just this blurry picture of absolutely nothing. I'm just going to
Right.
post anyway and then hashtag all these random things that don't even relate to the picture. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's really great advice. So you were talking about how you post a lot of like designer inspired type
Mhm.
things, but that recently got you into a little bit of like hot water and your account
Totally.
was temporarily disabled. So tell us what happened.
Yeah, so I posted a bag from a big box retailer that looked similar to a handbag from a designer. And it wasn't copyrighted, it wasn't trademarked, but Instagram's really cracking down on like the um, sharing or promotion of replica items, just because, of course, everyone knows it's not good for the environment. I mean, the ways that it's made overseas, it's not ethical. So they're being really, really careful. So they blocked my account or disabled it, and they told me I wasn't getting it back. It was gone. And this is like after 5 years of work. So I made a video, posted it on another account, and it basically went viral. And somebody saw it at Instagram, and I got an email about 6 weeks after they had let me know that it was disabled, that it was back, and it was a mistake. I know it wasn't a mistake. I think it was because I was causing all sorts of commotion because obviously creators really need to read the Instagram terms and conditions and community guidelines. When you sign up for Instagram, you just click yes, whatever, never read it, never see it again. But I have been telling everyone to read them because all of us are breaking them at some point, and Instagram's cracking down on that. So please, if you take anything away from this, is read the community guidelines and their terms and conditions, because I was in really hot water and thankfully I got my account back, but I know a lot of people didn't. So just be really careful.
So you have seen other people that were disabled for the same reasons.
Oh yeah, so many of them reached out to me, and we tried to like brainstorm what we could do and everything, but I don't know. I'm really hoping that there's just a backlog of them so all these gals will get their pages back, because obviously we're not doing it to sell, purposefully. It's like a bag from Walmart or wherever, Target or wherever, and you think that it's fine. So it's just really important to be aware.
Yeah, but so I feel like that's a lot of what you originally posted prior to, right? All of these dupes get the fashion
Yeah.
for less, right? So does
Right.
that like highly affect the way you've moved forward from that point? I mean, I feel like it would have to, right?
Yeah, so I'm really careful. I don't use the word dupe anywhere on Instagram because they've also banned that word,
Oh,
even though people are still using
interesting.
it. Yeah, so don't use it, don't say it, don't post it. But I still post like designer inspired items, but they're very much not as closely like the same, if you know what I mean. It has the same look and feel, but it's not as similar as I would like to share from a big box retailer. But I just got to be careful now. So yeah, I mean, it hasn't really affected my business, but it's definitely something that I'm bummed about.
Yeah, but on your blog, you're still sharing any
Yes.
quote unquote dupes. Okay,
Yes.
so you guys, if you're listening, you can still head over to our blog and find all the
Yeah,
good stuff.
totally, totally. And everything I share is completely legal. There's no trademarks, copyrights. I do all that research. And it's all from stores we shop at. So it's nothing like
Right.
overseas. I know people promote DHgate a lot. That is counterfeit. So I don't promote that or anything. It's all completely legal from places we shop. So yeah,
Well, I'm so glad you got it figured out. I know that must have been one
traumatic.
heck of a 6 weeks, you said?
Yeah.
That is a long time. So what were you like thinking you were going to do had you not gotten it back? Like, what was your plan?
Start over, thankfully, and I tell this to creators everywhere, is don't count on these social media platforms. You need to have your own newsletter list, your own website, something you control. So I have my own newsletter list with like 25,000 people on it. I got my blog. That was kind of my saving grace and my backup, but I still was planning on, you got to be on Instagram. So I was going to create a new account and just rebuild, but thank goodness I don't have to.
No, that's incredible. And it's like so hard to like get Instagram's attention.
Totally,
But
they
like,
have no support. If someone from Instagram is listening to this, y'all need to get better support because
oh
it
my
is
gosh, I
literally a
know.
robot that responds to you.
It's like halfway understandable because there's only like billions of people using the using the app. But my account also got disabled um for like a few days. And it was like right before an event that I was hosting. So like I needed to be there and to be like, everyone come to our event, but like I couldn't post and I couldn't get a hold of anyone. And there was like
Uh,
no real email, no real phone number. And I was like, Instagram, you're the worst.
yeah, for real.
But you you got it back. So thank goodness for that.
Yes.
So last question, what would be your top tips for someone starting from the beginning and wanting to build their personal brand or their social media presence?
Yeah, so I have a couple tips I always share. First of all, make like an overarching game plan for yourself. I don't recommend just jumping in and building from there. I literally made a 5-year plan, which is ironic because now we're 5 years in. When I started, exactly step by step what I was going to do. I found a mentor, which I think is really important to help you guide. And that's really hard to find a mentor because no one wants to take the time or share their secrets. But find a mentor if you can. Try new things and always track your progress, so you know what works and what doesn't work. Um, but in terms of your overarching plan, identify and develop your niche. So figure out what makes you different from other people and what your audience wants to see. Not trying to plug anything, but I did launch a
I
Instagram
was
planner
going
on.
to say it anyway. I love
Yeah,
it.
I did launch an Instagram planner on Amazon, and the reason I did it was for people just starting out. It literally breaks down everything from what does your audience eat for breakfast? Like your potential audience, what do they eat for breakfast? What do they wear? What do they think? There's worksheets in there to help you build that out because that is so important. It seems silly, but you need to know exactly what your audience does, thinks, wears, smells like, everything. Like you need to build that out, especially if you have a product that you're selling. But then my workbook also talks about advertising and influencer marketing and everything. So it's complicated. So I always say have a 5-year plan, make buckets, make plans for each of the verticals, whether that's advertising, events, whatever it might be, and just go from there. Organization is key. That's what I always say too. The months that I'm a hot mess, my sales go down. The months that I'm organized and like disciplined, those are my best months. So that's what I recommend for newbies.
Okay, I know I said that was my last question, but a couple follow-up questions to what you just said. Um, so your original 5-year plan, did it stay pretty true to what you had originally envisioned?
Yeah, it did. And a plan is something you can alter as you go. It's not set in stone. So definitely take things, remove things. You know, you never know. Tomorrow you could be featured on Vogue and that'll change your whole plan, you know? Like you don't know. So it's definitely malleable as you go along. So start out with something solid, but be open to changing it.
And then you also said it's the workbook that you created is great for people just starting out, but what about people that are kind of in the midst of it already and have already grown a decent following? Are they still able to utilize your workbook?
Yeah, totally. It works for beginners or experts. There's workbook pages for everybody, and I think we can all improve no matter how long we've been in the business. So it'll definitely get those juices going, and you can think about a lot of things because the algorithm's changing, the way that we monetize, the way we advertise, everything's always changing. So it can definitely work for anybody.
Yeah, with that said, I mean, so I'm assuming it's meant for just the fundamental steps, right? Since the algorithm is changing so frequently, it's not
Yeah,
true to just these few months. It's just foundational. This is what you really
exactly.
should be doing at the base of it all.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. Did you already tell us what it was called?
Yeah, it's called Do It for the Gram, and it's on Amazon, so if you just type in "Do It from the Gram" and then you can put Sonia, it comes up, but I think it's one of the Instagram planners on the first page, so you should see it. But yeah, I'm
I
excited.
love that. Okay, really last question. Where can all of our listeners find you? Your Instagram, your blog, anything else you might want to share?
Yeah, so you can find me on Sonia Begonia and Sonia Begonia blog on Instagram, so soniabegonia.com.
Perfect. Thank you so, so much, Sonia, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
And to all of our listeners, again, thank you so much for tuning in, whether you're joining in on a YouTube or on your favorite podcast platforms. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow the both of us on Instagram, do all the things in all the places, and we will definitely see you again soon.